The Eagles postgame show upon Lehocky live from Ocean Casino. I'm Mike Missinelli with Derek Gunn. Seth Joyner, and joining us for this segment, Mark Barzetta. He is back. So let's retrace the steps of this game, because it started out with an Eagle drive that, they're moving the football. Gainwell carrying the football. They got small passes in the middle of the field. It was pouring down rain. A quarterback draw gets them a first down at the 9-yard line. But then, third and goal, guys. Juden, untouched, gets the sack there, which forces the Eagles into a field goal after a 14-play drive.
Bill Belichick is the master of deception, and Juden came untouched in there, and I don't think they were expecting that. Luckily, the Eagles were able to chew up a lot of time on the clock. They got 3 points out of it, but this team has spoiled us. We've been spoiled by this team, and we understand it's the first game, but we expected the offense to come out rolling, just rolling. And in first series, they were rolling down the field but they didn't finish it the way we're accustomed to seeing it. Those things, they'll look at this film and they'll make the adjustments. And luckily for them, they'll get back on that horse in a short week, and I expect to see a much more fluid type offense for this team. I
always think it's a mistake when you defer what the Patriots did. They deferred to get the ball in the second half and give the Eagles the first drive of the game, which invariably it breaks down teams. I mean, all last year, the same thing happened.
What's the strength of that Patriots team? The defense.
Yeah.
I want my when I know I have a definite strength, I want that strength on the field. And he understood his defense had a better chance of matching up against the Eagles' offense than his offense against the Eagles'
strength?
Well,
You're playing right into their hands,
but you held them to 3, though.
Yeah.
You did hold them to 3.
Most head coaches do that because they're trying to steal the extra possession.
Right.
If you can get the ball right before the end of the first half and score, and then come back out and have the first possession of the second half, now you steal the possession, and you're actually back-to-back. So,
which is what they did. Which is what happened.
So New England had 13 possessions. The Eagles only had 11 possessions today.
They get the 32-yard field goal, 3-0, and then the big play happens, the Slay pick 6. After it deflects off Kendrick Bourne's hands, plops right into Slay's hands. He goes 70 yards. On that play, did I notice that Mac Jones made a half-hearted effort to try to tackle him? Are we in the era now where a quarterback can't make a tackle to save a touchdown because they're so valuable?
No, they can. They just,
it's frowned upon.
The mindset is if you get hurt trying to go make a tackle because you threw an interception, that you double the injury to the team.
Yeah.
So let them have the 7. Let's go back and try to, pick it back up on the next possession.
Okay. It's a risk-reward situation. All right, and then they get another turnover. It's Jordan Davis with a big play, punches it out. Zeke Elliott, our old pal Zeke, gives it up, and the Eagles recover at the New England 26. That leads to a 5-yard touchdown pass. Hurts to Devontae, and all of a sudden, they're up 16-0 after a missed PAT. Well, I know you were blaming Elliott on that, but it was a slippery bar of soap that came off of Siplas's hands on the hold. He put it down crooked.
Why you singling me out, man?
you were blaming my man.
No, I said, he can kick a 57-yard field goal, but he can't kick a 33-yard extra
and the only reason is because the Siplas didn't get the hold down. It slipped out of his hands. He got a little nervous.
Don't call me out on air no more, Mike.
All right.
What happens in the game room stays in the game room, man. I'm not telling family secrets out here on air, man.
You're the guy that wanted cameras in the green room.
All right, so
until we get the cameras in the game room, do not be telling family secrets on air.
All right, now in the second quarter,
I don't ever want cameras in the green room. I'm telling you right now.
One, Gunner.
Second quarter, the Eagles' offense slowed down a little bit. The Patriots' defense, I thought, adjusted pretty well. Seth, what were they doing there?
I think it was a combination of things. I think by the time they got to the second half, I believe the Eagles felt like they couldn't run the ball, so they really got away from even trying to run the ball and keeping the offense, keeping the defense honest. And they had a nice little mix of coverages where they played their guys, 5 across, a straight line, sometimes 5, sometimes 6, sometimes 7, depending on what the down and distance was, and they played man from there. They play zone from there. They drop a guy down and take the first crosser. I mean, they just, and single high. Bill just did a really good job when you do that, the defense is kind of undefined. So for a quarterback, you see 5 down linemen, they're probably going to rush 5, and then you see 5 guys on the back line, so it's like you got 5 down linemen and 5 linebackers, so to speak, and then you got one safety. And nothing's defined because they're disguising the entire time. They've got one line across the back, and they're disguising the whole time. Then the ball gets snapped, and one guy drops down, the other guy drops back. That one goes to the flat, this one goes to the hook, and the quarterback is like, okay, where the hell did I go with the ball? And then all game long, I was watching the replays, and I'm like, our wide receivers are getting no separation.
No.
None at all. And in a lot of situations. And that's really that's uncommon for this offense.
I mean, think about this. When was the last time we saw Jalen Hurts flushed out of a pocket with the kind of frequency he was today and pat the ball? He couldn't run it because somebody's standing there waiting for him. How many times did he throw the ball away out of bounds out of frustration? More so than we're accustomed to seeing. So give credit where credit is due.
There was a play, it's kind of overlooked now, but I wrote it down because I like more of an aggressive attack. They had a 3rd and 10 deep in New England's territory, and they gave up the possession with a run up the middle for 2 yards on that play. Did you expect them to take a shot, Farzy, on a 3rd and 10 there? I mean, to trust your quarterback who was almost the MVP last year?
Look,
make a play?
Yeah, that first play where you had the 3rd and long where Jalen Hurts had the rush for the first down, and that was a great play. But on that particular play, I was expecting a little bit more.
I was gave up the possession. I
was expecting to see some of that aggression that we had seen in years past with Shane Steichen and Nick Sirianni. You didn't necessarily see that today when it came to Brian Johnson and Nick Sirianni. You have the weapons here on the offense to try to pull off something bigger and not just take a shot, but actually make a play happen for this offense where you had an opportunity to swing momentum back to your favor. And instead, they more or less punted on that play.
They did, and they punted 4 straight times. And so with 2:33, New England takes over at the 37. They used the middle of the field. They were victimizing the linebacker area and the safety area. And then finally, a great throw by Mac Jones gets Kendrick Bourne. 10 completions in a row for Mac at that point. Seth, 16-14, they creep back in it.
It was a confluence of things because, early on you saw Sean Desai bring some pressure. And it's different than blitzing. Pressure. He brought Christian Ellis. He brought Nakobe Dean a couple of times. So even when they were in their 4-man front, he would bring an extra guy. And that was the essence of their pressure. But they did a poor job of disguising it pre-snap. Matt Jones picked it up and just dinked the ball off or got it out of his hand really quick. So then as the game progressed, he became more and more less aggressive than he was in the first half, So their end kind of, tells the story, when the pass rush isn't getting there the way you expect it to, and it wasn't, and then you start bringing pressure and you can't disguise it well enough, or, you bring it and they still have a way of picking it up, then that kind of pushes you back to, being a little more conservative. I'm pretty sure Nick Sirianni said, hey, that's 2 first downs, okay? You came after him twice and you didn't get there. Let's dial this thing back and let's bend but don't break it.
Here's where I see the Bill O'Brien direct effect on Mac Jones. Mac Jones did a very good job, and once he felt the outside pressure, instead of tucking and hitting the turf, he did a very good job of sliding up, sliding left, slide to the right to avoid the guys coming at him, which bought him time to get the ball down the field, especially once that offense got in the groove when he started completing 10 consecutive passes. You didn't see that from Mac Jones last year. He was so confused with the coordinators he had taking care of him last year. But Bill O'Brien is very good at identifying a young quarterback's strengths and playing to it. Mac Jones doesn't have the strongest arm, but what he is, he's a very smart quarterback. Go back to his rookie campaign. I mean, he set a rookie record for quarterbacks with 300-something consecutive attempts without throwing a pick. Kid was ascending. All of a sudden, you bring in Matt Patricia as your offensive coordinator, and all of a sudden he tailspins. Now you bring back a quarterback guru. That's going to help this Patriots team overall in the long run. You can see those traits where he's getting back to what he was as a rookie.
Yeah, you definitely saw the difference in coaching for him and how much more comfortable he looked
Absolutely.
in that pocket and
Absolutely.
manipulating the pocket today. But the interesting thing for me was how he did face the blitz, because I felt like today we did see a lot more blitzing from Sean Desai versus Jonathan
Yes.
Gannon from a year ago. And Seth, what you were pointing out, disguising a blitz, I wanted you to explain this one thing, because we did talk about it and it did happen in the green room. It was the Reed Blankenship blitz that he had in the second quarter. And he was late arriving, and that's putting it kindly. But he was coming up from the safety position, full run, full steam ahead to try to get into the backfield. And they still were able to complete the pass downfield. I looked at you at that point and I said, was that a blitz? And you kind of gave me this look like it was supposed to be. How did that play unfold? Because that seemed to be one that was late developing.
Because, there are these delayed blitzes where you bring the safety, where you give them the look, and on the snap of the ball, what you're hoping is the quarterback's read is right to left, and you get there while he's trying to read through it. But the problem is, Mac Jones was getting the ball out of his hands.
Yeah.
So if they would have shot him out of a cannon from where he was standing, he would have never got there. I mean, there were times where there was one time where they sent both linebackers on a delayed blitz. They didn't even get close to him, But you kind of got to pick your poison, And the Eagles never really got in a situation where they got him in third and long. That's where you run that type of blitz. And to Sean Desai's credit, he ran a couple of run blitzes. I mean, you saw Nakobe Dean take a gap sometimes. There's nothing wrong with that. I like that, because that gives that on film gives other offensive coordinators and other head coaches something to think about and something to wonder about as the game progresses and in your game plan. So, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. You can't play it negatively all the time. But I think that if Sean Desai is going to dial up some things, that I feel like he's got to be, they better succeed. Because if they don't succeed, Nick Sirianni is more bent towards not being aggressive, and he probably doesn't have a problem telling him to dial it back.
Here's one thing, though, that the Eagles defense did much better in the fourth quarter than they did the previous 3 quarters. They got better push in the middle, which didn't allow Mac Jones to be able to step up and throw the football. And once they contained him on the inside, he had nowhere to go. That changed the complexion of how he was surveying the situation down the field.
D-Gun, the one thing that's going to change this year as far as their pass rush is concerned, they're going to consistently get a push up in the middle.
You're going to have
with Jalen.
Yeah.
And also, I think Jalen will inspire Fletcher Cox from time to time. Milton Williams played well today, I felt. So I think that with the rotation that they got, even Jordan Davis had a half a sack today.
Yes.
So I think with the wealth of defensive tackles that they have, the one thing they're going to do is they're going to be able to push the pocket. The guys on the edge are going to have to be a little more disciplined about how they rush. I saw Josh Sweat run past the quarterback and let Mac Jones step up in the gap today, where that if you don't beat that guy on a speed rush right now within 2 yards, then you got to throttle it down. And once you get even, this upfield shoulder gets even with the quarterback, you got to stop and work back under, because the quarterback can feel you there. And once he feels you get above him, he's automatically going to step up under. So if you just stop right there and reverse, you're going to fall right into sacks. But they got to be a little more disciplined about the way that they rush on the edges, because all year long, they are going to get pushed.
Yeah.
All right, now we're in the third quarter, and the Patriots get the possession, right? And the last thing you want to do is give up points there, because they had scored to go into halftime. And they get them the punt. And the Eagles start to move it a little bit, and a couple things derail them. Mailata with a hold on that situation. I didn't think he played that well today. And then so that drive derails, and they get Elliott out there for a 56-yard attempt. The clock runs down to the point where they have to call timeout there. Now, how does that happen?
Play calling. I mean, listen, when you're coordinating plays, you've almost got to be 2 or 3 plays ahead in your play calling progression. And sometimes, there's a discussion going on between, you got a run game coordinator, you got a passing game coordinator, and on top of it, you got an offensive coordinator.
Right.
So everybody's conferring with each other about what we should do and how we should do it. And sometimes, you get into those situations where the clock runs down. Or you
they got a guy on the field late too. Somebody didn't get on the field in time for that.
And sometimes you get the quarterback that'll make a check, late in the play clock, and that will cause the clock to run out.
I'm talking about the field goal attempt where they called the timeout before they got the personnel on to kick the field goal.
So you just never know. You never know what the circumstances are. Maybe Suapeta, was getting some water over there and didn't know that they were running the field goal.
He was the guy that came on late.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, he came on late.
Or he could have been, the normal guy that's supposed to be in there. He could have been his backup, And while he's over there, chatting and having a conversation, on the sideline, they're like, who's backing up so-and-so over here? I mean, it happens, man. It happens.
All right, so the Patriots, after that, got a decent drive going. They get a couple holding penalties. One on Hunter Henry, I thought was a really bad call there. That one really wasn't a hold.
It was a gift.
Yeah, it was the Eagles got a gift on that point. So now we go into the fourth quarter, and the Eagles on a 3rd and 7, incomplete to Goddard. That was the target that we're talking about. They were incomplete on that. Field goal attempt is 48 yards, and he doinks it in to make it 22-24. And this is where the injuries crop up. Nakobe Dean is now out of the game, and so this sets up the last part of this game where, listen, they get a 51-yarder to make it 25-14. I came down here. I'm thinking, all right, it's over. Let's talk about what we're going to talk about in this postgame show. And all of a sudden, what happened?
I get off the elevator and I look up at the screen. I see the Patriots have the ball, and I'm thinking, are they replaying some scenario from the game earlier? And guys standing behind me goes, "Hey, D-Gun, Jalen took off and ran and fumbled. He got hit pretty good and fumbled the football." I'm like, what? And I'm thinking, if they go in and score here, we got ourselves a ball game. It happens.
Yep.
It's a wet surface. It happens. Both teams have turnovers. Luckily, it did hurt the Eagles.
Gunnar, I understand. It happens. Fumbles happen.
Yes.
You run the football.
Yes.
Is there in any universe, any stratosphere where that should have been the called play for Jalen Hurts to run a draw on that play?
No. And that goes back to questionable play calling and your new offensive coordinator growing and evolving. We looked at some questionable calls in this game today. It's easy to be a lounge chair quarterback.
Yeah, but that's one of the things immediately.
That's obvious. That's quite obvious.
And then, I know Jalen Hurts is always going to fight for every play, and he's going to have that kind of never say die attitude,
right.
And that's great. It's one of the things you love about it. But he is usually a more heads-up player than that. He had yards. He got yards.
Yes.
Get down.
Yes.
Just quit while you're ahead at that point.
Absolutely.
Trying to go for the extra yards at that point didn't make any sense.
So the question is, what was the play? Because I was on my way down, coming down the steps right here, and I'm like, I get down the steps, I'm like, what the hell? How did they get the ball back? Just that quick. So a lot of it all depends on the play that was called, because the thing you got to realize too is that when they call an RPO or they call a read option, okay, Jalen Hurts is reading the situation. Was it a call quarterback draw? I don't know, because I didn't see it. Or was it a true RPO and the intent was to force Jalen Hurts to run?
From what it looked like, and you're right, this could be something totally different, but from what it looked like, when we've seen Jalen Hurts run quarterback draws like we did in the first quarter tonight, it looked just like that.
Okay.
It looked just like that.
By the way, before they made it 25-14 on the 51-yard field goal, the Patriots go for it on 4th and 8, which I thought was a questionable decision. 53-yard field goal. They could have used those points at that point. They do get the first down because Hunter Henry makes a one-handed snag for the first down. Then they get to the 17 with 9:32 left, Seth. And rather than kick the field goal, they go for it on 4th and 3. Am I missing something here?
Analytics, man. It's like we talked about it early. If they kick the field goal there,
yes,
then when Jalen turns around and fumbles that ball, they're in position for another 3,
yes,
which gives them the lead by 26 to 25.
Yes.
So it's like, I'm sure these coaches, when they're in the locker room with their hands in their head, like Bill Belichick probably was after this game, he probably thought to himself, if I coulda, shoulda, woulda,
I see. Here's my problem. Bill Belichick is maybe
Old
the best.
school.
And I'm going, okay, at that point, does he not see the value of 3 points? Like, would he defer to some analytics guy that you got to go for it there? That's what I don't understand.
Andy Reid did the same thing on Thursday night, man. He did the same thing. they had 4th and 25 with 3+ minutes left on the clock.
Yeah, he was confused there.
And three timeouts. Okay, yet they went for it on 3rd and 25. Punt the ball, and rely on your defense and take advantage of your 3 timeouts to be able to get the ball back for your quarterback. But you're asking Patrick Mahomes to do the virtual impossible when your wide receivers, just have proven all night long that they couldn't catch a cold, butt naked in the igloo.
Playing with oven mitts on.
All right, let's take a break because we have game balls coming up a little bit. Kayla will be back with us to give up game balls. And, of course, the thing about game balls is whether our producer, Joe, can always get the game balls on the set in time. So this is a new year. Last year
He didn't bring the game balls.
Oh, we don't have the game. We don't have the.
I was about to say I don't even see any game
What are we
balls.
doing? Are we giving air? What are we doing here? We're giving air balls. Well, there you go.
Can we give game bottle of water?
Now there's no way to get the balls on the set in time. We know that flat out. Let's take a break. It is the Lehocky Eagles postgame show live from Ocean Casino. We're back with no game balls after this.
Philadelphia fans.